Yeah. So yeah, hi, very warm welcome to everyone. So every Saturday at 8 o'clock, we meet and we nowadays, we keep a short meditation in the start. And then we enter into a dialogue session. And usually the dialogue sessions are based around our own lives, our challenges, our learnings, our sharings. So this time, the theme that I chose is settling deep within ourselves. And we'll just do a 3-4 minutes meditation on it. And then I'll open the session and we can enter into a dialogue after that, put questions and reflections. So wherever you are, if you can just allow yourself to relax wherever you are, close your eyes if possible. And even if there is a resistance to the meditation, just allow the resistance to be. Relax your breathing a little. Maybe 3 deep, long breaths would help. Breath is the link to bring us back to the now. Although we are every time in the now only, but we forget. Allow yourself to just relax, be very, very relaxed and be there wherever you are. Just bring yourself back to the body. And even if there is a resistance to the voice, or maybe I don't want to do the meditation, that's completely okay. Allow the resistance to be. Now place your attention at the back of your chest, deep into the heart. As if you are going deep into an ocean. Depth of your heart. Stay with the breath. Notice all the movements of thoughts, sensations, feelings, maybe judgments, maybe the morning, evening, afternoon, things about that. They're all there on the surface. And let them be like the superficial waves of the ocean. And yet you can be there in the depth of your being. Travel to the last, towards the inner end of your heart. The inside of your back. Now imagine, stay with me and imagine. Imagine that you have gotten very deep into this ocean of your being. And now when you look up, you see the surface waves from here. A little bit of light, maybe a bit of garbage on the surface, waves, ripples. All of that is there. And you are here in the depths of your being, absolutely immobile, calm, turned inwards, untouched. All the havoc that thoughts and feelings play does not reach this further end. You are very safe here. Absolutely untouched. All the resistances, judgments, sensations, past and future worries, my family, my children, that's all on the surface. We all crave for a safety and security, lasting happiness, contentment. This is the source. Stay with the breath. You are absolutely okay in the now. We all are. Now my task begins from this space. How more and more settled in this space, I act in the world. I act out my behavior, my feelings, my sense perceptions, thinking. Can I always be aware of this deeper self? A place which is untouched by all the turmoil. I may have committed crimes, sins, and yet there is always hope, as this inner being is forever untouched. So all the happiness that I want to seek through external people, situations, is to be found here. And when I take this responsibility, I reclaim my power back. from all those where I keep on giving power away. There is no how to in this process. It just is. Travel in the depths of your heart, settle there, feel home there. Relinquishing the possibility that a future peace is to be found. Once I travel to this country, once I change my job, once I change my partner, once this happens, once that happens. Like this, we keep on giving our power away. Right now, I can access the stillness, peace, knowledge, and strength from the inner being. So, what do we do? All the restless prana that we have, all the restless energy that goes outside, bring it in. Dig deeper within the being. Yet deeper and deeper. No one ever found happiness outside. So just wanted to give you a taste of this. It's okay if some of us have not been able to follow. It would not affect much the dialogue. And whenever you feel ready, you can just take your time, open your eyes. Again, stay rooted. If you are able to touch that deep space, stay rooted there if possible. And we can start the dialogue whenever we feel ready. So I'll just share a few lines on what's the need, what's the need of this. And then please, I would ask everyone to share questions, reflections. So I felt that very soon, as if for once I'm going within the being, and immediately something happens. Maybe this situation turns happy outside, everything is seemingly hunky-dory, and I lose that depth in myself. So as if I turn within the being, there is lots to be done within the being. I need to know myself more and more in my depths. And something or the other happens in external situations, which takes my focus away. And I am again thrown on the surface of the ocean rather than in the depths of the ocean. Now, since we are many a times we reflect upon Mother and Sri Aurobindo's words. So the task is not to just keep on settling down in the depths. We have a twofold task. And the twofold task is that first, this has to become a daily practice for me, if one can call it a practice, going down in my depths, touching base with myself as deep as I can go, resting there. This is what mother calls resting in a higher consciousness. Yeah. Or one may be using props for that. One may be remembering the mother at times. One may be using breath. Doesn't matter what we use. Staying in the depths of our being. And the other task, so I was talking about a twofold task. First, we have to parallelly keep a touch with our base within, as deep as we can go access every time. And it's not an empty base, we slowly realize. It's full of knowledge, full of guidance and inspiration. Although it may appear in the beginning as a darkness, as an emptiness. But this emptiness is full of possibilities. And then the other task for us is to bring this clarity and understanding and depth in my relations, in my workplace, in my speech, in my day-to-day practices. Because if I just station myself within and the outer life remains dull and drain-like, there is no point. So almost this is our social responsibility to keep on touching base with ourselves and allow that beauty, allow that stillness, allow that silence and also insights to come into my action, to slowly transform my action. That is our higher possibility. And again, we take baby steps here. There are many, many challenges on the path, many challenges. It's a long and arduous journey. 10 steps we may take further and 5 we go ahead, again back. And we need a lot of perseverance and self-kindness on this path. Yeah. So this was the basic idea behind the theme today that I selected. And I would now ask you to please open up and share anything wherever you are right now, whatever is maybe troubling, or you want to maybe share something. It would be great for all of us if we begin the sharing. Yeah.
मोनिका जी.
Yes, Kuldeep ji. Yeah.
हाँ, वो सैडनेस के बारे में आप बोल रहे थे ना, बी विद द सैडनेस एंड ऑल. तो बीच में ऐसा भी हो रहा था और मैंने फिर वो पैटर्न देखा. उस दिन जैसे मैं भाग गया था, सैडनेस इतना देखा, और उस सैडनेस से निकलने की जल्दीबाजी, जो डिस्परेशन और रेस्टलेसनेस, और वो आपने बोला था बी विद दैट रेस्टलेसनेस. तो लेकिन फिर मैंने ये पैटर्न देखा कि पूरा लाइफ उसी में गया है एक्चुअली में. चाहे मैंने उसको पर्पस बोला है, परस्यूट बोला है, प्लेजर बोला है, कमनी बोला है, हाँ, वो उसी सैडनेस से भागने का ही. वो ऐसा नहीं है कि उसको सॉल्व करता है. वो बाहर के जो भी मैं कर रहा हूँ, बाहर का जो भी मैं कर रहा हूँ, उसको थोड़ी देर के लिए ढक देता है. लेकिन जहाँ पे बीच बीच में वो फिर डीपली नजर आता है, वो उसको पूरी तरह से ढक नहीं पाता है, और वो डीपली नजर आता है. और चूंकि उससे हम लोग भाग रहे हैं तो बहुत फ्राइटनिंग भी लगता है. वो ये इतना फ्राइटनिंग है नहीं एक्चुअली. थोड़ी देर सैड होने से कोई नुकसान हो जाएगा या कुछ नहीं. हम बस जितना डरे हैं तो वो बहुत ज्यादा और भयानक लगता है. हम इतना भागते हैं, उसको देखते ही नहीं है. लेकिन मुझे ये अनुभव हुआ कि वो उस सैडनेस के साथ रह सकते हैं. और और सैडनेस के साथ ऐसा नहीं है कि वो सैडनेस हमारे काम के साथ भी इंटरफेयर कर रहा है. वो अपनी जगह है, हमारे रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज के साथ इंटरफेयर नहीं करता है. हम जब उससे भागने के लिए कोशिश करते हैं, वो रेस्टलेसनेस से इंटरफेयर करती है कि ये सैडनेस क्यों है, क्या है. इवन इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू लुक, लेकिन वही दैट इज द डीपेस्ट लेयर ऑफ माई सेल्फ दैट आई नो. वो सैडनेस तो हमेशा ही रही है ना. बाकी सब जो मजे और ये प्लेजर और ये तो आए हैं गए हैं, छोटे मोटे सुख दुख ये आए गए हैं, लेकिन वो सैडनेस तो हमेशा ही रहा है. और जहां तक मैंने ये तो अपने आप को ही डिनाई करना हुआ कि जितना मैं अपने आप को देख रहा हूँ, माई डीपेस्ट लेयर, मेरे लिए ट्रूथ वही है. वही सफरिंग, सफरिंग नहीं कहूंगा, जो भी है, सैडनेस, एम्प्टीनेस, तो वही तो मेरा ट्रूथ है. वही तो बेसिक ट्रूथ है, वही तो हमेशा रहता है. उससे मैं बाद में भागूंगा तो उसके नीचे तो और देखा ही नहीं आज तक. उसके नीचे जो बोलते हैं, जो जॉय है, आनंद है, या उसको उसको पियर्स करो, उसके नीचे देखो, तो नहीं देखा है, लेकिन कम से कम जितना देखा है उसको डिनाई क्यों करें, उससे भागे क्यों?
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mother shares in one of her, texts that as if you stand, go deep in the being, Mother shares, and then there you stand as if you are standing in front of a closed door. कि आप एक बंद दरवाजे के सामने बैठे हुए हैं, वेट कर रहे हैं कब खुलेगा कब खुलेगा. आई थिंक आई कुड रिलेट व्हेन यू वर शेयरिंग कि सबसे नीचे जहां तक मैं जा पाया हूँ वहां में मुझे यही दिखा है, एज इफ देयर इज अ क्लोज डोर. उसके आगे आपको नहीं दिख रहा है. अब लोग बात करते होंगे आनंदा की या ब्लिस की, लेकिन अभी वो मेरी रियलिटी नहीं है, राइट?
उस डोर को भी हिम्मत से कंटिन्यूअसली देखना नहीं होता है. इतना रेस्टलेसनेस, इतना वो आ जाता है, ये क्या बोलते हैं, इम्पेशंस आ जाता है, फिर कुछ और ढूंढने लगते हैं बाहर की दुनिया में,
बहुत सुंदर,
एक्शन में.
बहुत सुंदर, बहुत सुंदर. तो ये आई थिंक all of us would be able to relate with this, that very rarely are those moments where we are actually touching base with that primeval sadness जो आप जिसकी बात कर रहे हैं. And I think उसके one of the quotes from Khalil Gibran, he says pain is the shell that encloses your understanding. तो हमको that's what I was sharing with you, जो आप reference दे रहे थे कि अगर हम उसको नजरअंदाज करेंगे, है ना, उस अभी तो मेरी वही सच्चाई है ना, तो अगर मैं उसको नजरअंदाज करूंगी तो उसके आगे नहीं जा पाऊंगी. तो बहुत ही अच्छा है वो मोमेंट्स. एंड अगेन मदर एंड Sri Aurobindo have shared so much on pain and suffering, that how they are the only ones which are able to break our hard shells in which we have enclosed ourselves. So if we can stay with that, whatever it is, maybe at times we may not even know the reason, although they say, masters have said that the only purpose to sadness or sorrow is that we have disconnected from our true essence, and that is why sadness exists. And again, it's just like a closed door, and we have to be very patient, very persistent with this, standing next to this door. And one day mother says that it just breaks open, and it's not the ending. That breaking open is not the ending, because ऐसा नहीं, again when we talk of our own truth or the divine, वो कोई limited object थोड़ी ना है कि आज मिल गया बस पूरा हो गया मेरा, कि आज मुझे भगवान मिल गया पूरा हो गया. ऐसा कोई दिन आने नहीं वाला, क्योंकि भगवान कोई ऑब्जेक्ट थोड़ी ना है. जो हम अपने ट्रू सेल्फ की बात करते हैं, it's not an object. एक speaker is an object. I can reach the speaker, but when we talk of our own true self or the divine, it is just going deeper and deeper in this journey, revelation after revelations, truths after truths, cracking of one door after another door after another door after another door. And such is the beauty of this path, कि कोई भी यहाँ पे ये नहीं है कि वो आगे बढ़ गया और तुम पीछे रह गए. सबकी जर्नी लगातार ऑन है. दैट इज द ब्यूटी. और ये मुझे लगता है जो आपने दर्द की बात कही, पेन की बात करी, आई थिंक वी जस्ट हैव टू टैप इनटू डीपर स्ट्रेंथ टू स्टे विद द पेन. हम पेन से भागते बहुत हैं, बहुत बाद में हमको रियलाइज होता है कि कितना भागेंगे भैया, ये तो कहीं जाने का नाम ही नहीं ले रहा है, टिका हुआ है. एंड again, it's a collective pain also. You may not have been able to, at times we are not able to pinpoint कि इसका origin क्या है. कभी कभी होता है नहीं पता लगता, and yet there is this sadness and pain within the being. So it's also a part of this collective consciousness that we are. तो मुझे लगता है at times I think, again coming from my own limited understanding, at times I think that we just have to grow strength in order to be with the pain. It's okay. I'm okay being with the pain. Now I'm not wanting to go it away, shoo it away. And there we actually connect with a deeper strength. कुछ है जो हमें फिर भी संभाल के रखता है.
क्योंकि वो नुकसान करने वाला कोई कुत्ता नहीं है जो हमको काट रहा है, बस हमारे सामने है, हम उसको बस क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं क्यों है. वो कोई ऐसा थोड़े चीज है कि हमको बीमारी दे रहा है या हमको इंजुरी दे रहा है. दैट पेन इज नॉट हार्मिंग अस इन एनी वे. वो हम ही का क्वेश्चन है कि मीनिंग होना चाहिए, पर्पस होना चाहिए, तो हम छोटे छोटे मीनिंग्स के पीछे भागते हैं। हाँ, मतलब वो बाहर की चीजों में अंदर मीनिंग होना चाहिए, तो उसके लिए बाहर बाहर कहाँ से सोल्यूशन मिलेगा? और फिर गुस्सा करते हैं अपनी वाइफ के ऊपर कि नहीं, यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड एंड ऑल। अरे भाई, हमारा टाइम पास नहीं बनना चाहते वो लोग, हम डिस्ट्रैक्शन। अब धोखा नहीं दे सकते। पहले तो वो पर्पस लगता था कि हाँ भाई, अटेंशन सीख करके कुछ मिलेगा। अब तो क्लियर मालूम है कि बाहर में जो भी देख रहा हूँ, दैट इज जस्ट अ डाइवर्जन। दूसरों को धोखा दे सकते हैं कि आई एम इन लव एंड आई एम हैविंग ए पर्पस, और अपने आप को कहाँ दे सकते हैं? अब तो क्लियर कट हो गया कि इस पेन से भागने के लिए सारे ये फंडे फुंडे हैं। तो अपने आप को धोखा भी नहीं दे सकते, तो वो कुछ बहुत बेसिक है जो जरूरी है उसको करना है, लेकिन ये भागने के लिए इतनी सारी दौड़ है वो खत्म हो जाती है। उसके जो एक्स्ट्रा जो करना पड़ता है कि किसी को इम्प्रेस कर दो, कुछ पा लो, कुछ ये खा लो, अपनी दो रोटी और दो दो गज बिस्तर के लिए जितना करना है वो उतना करना है। बाकी जो एक्स्ट्रा करने की कि मेरा सैडनेस दूर हो जाएगा, उसके लिए कुछ कर लो, उसकी कोई जरूरत नहीं है।
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Kuldeep ji. Yeah. So, Jasmine, you are sharing about, can we talk about collective? You mean collective pain? Are you talking about collective consciousness? I'm not sure if you can just elaborate upon that.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm talking about you mentioned collective pain or collective consciousness. So I'm just curious about that. Can you elaborate on that, what you were talking about?
So what I wanted to share here, Jasmine, was we feel that we are different from each other, separate from each other. कि अगर दूसरे को दर्द हो रहा है तो अरे मुझे तो नहीं हो रहा, आई एम ओके, डजंट मैटर अगर उसको हो रहा है तो. So what I meant here by collective pain or collective consciousness was that many a times our own pain helps us to connect with a pain which any human being will feel. You know, mother, again quoting masters, everybody, Upanishads, you know, take all the scriptures, and one thing they have said, that human beings are here for a purpose, and the purpose is not setting up of a family and having kids and having a good job. And that's why we feel so lost after we have achieved all of that. There comes a time when we say to ourselves, okay, now what? Now आगे क्या है, इसके आगे क्या है? So this basic discontent in human being, this is what I was referring to, this collective pain. And according to my present understanding and what I understand from masters is, unless we go on this path of self-realization further and further, there is no end to this pain. So कुछ टाइम तक हम इग्नोरेंस में रह सकते हैं कि अच्छा पहले बच्चा पैदा कर लिए, शादी हो गई, अपना इधर उधर जो सोसाइटी कह रही है करते चले गए. लेकिन जब वो सब अचीव हो जाता है तो तब we actually realize कि now what? Because this does not seem to fulfill me, and we are all seeking for this fulfillment, and this is what we call as divine fulfillment, peace, lasting happiness, lasting contentment. This is what we label as divine. So ultimately it appears to me, again just talking about from the present understanding, it appears to me that we will have no respite from this suffering that we are in. At times maybe okay, but at times the suffering reappears, until we recognize that the only purpose of me being here is to unite with my own self, with my true self, or what we in other words call the divine consciousness. And this journey can just be started. I can just walk on this path, because there are deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper layers and layers to be addressed. So that's what I was sharing, that there would be no one end, that now I have got the divine and I'm fulfilled. There can be just fulfillment after a greater fulfillment, a greater light, a greater revelation. there would be no end to this journey. That is what I feel at the moment, that there is just more and more to this revelation. And that is why we call the divine is infinite. So when I was talking of collective pain or collective consciousness, that's why we are not actually separate from each other. If you are in pain, my liberation does nothing. You are in pain. So we cannot dissociate with each other, because we are not these bodies which appear to be very separated from each other. You know, कि तुम यहाँ पे हो, मैं यहाँ पे हूँ. अरे मैं तो ठीक हूँ. Because we are not the bodies. We are the awareness that is seemingly occupying all the bodies. Yeah. तो एक जने का pain adds on to the collective pain. इसलिए हम एक जने को भी नहीं छोड़ सकते इस जर्नी में. अपने आप को तो खैर छोड़ना ही नहीं छोड़ना, but we cannot leave even one person. So इसलिए, you know, then we talk about, okay, that nirvana is actually very selfish. That, okay, you have attained nirvana, you are liberated from the bondage or knots of ego. And now what? But the society is still there. All the people around me are still there. So that is why we cannot be liberated individually. And that is why we say that we are all walking each other home. Because even if one person remains, it's my failure. All of us are wanting settlement and happiness, aren't we? All of us. Tasalli, contentment. And in the beginning, as Kuldeep ji was sharing, in the beginning, it seems that wahan se milega, wahan se milega, wahan se milega. Then through our realizations, we realize, अरे वहां से lasting तो नहीं मिलेगा, temporary मिलता है, लेकिन lasting नहीं मिलता. अब कहाँ जाओ? You know, so we turn within, we turn to the path of spirituality. Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of hint towards that collective aspect.
Yeah, because the way I was thinking about collective, when you said collective pain, is because sometimes in my very, I don't know how to put it, it's very intimate inside. Like when you tap into your own pain, it's almost like you touch. I don't know how to explain it. In that moment, it's not very thought. It's not so much in thought, but it's almost like the way you relate and connect to that collective pain. And I'm not talking about collective, all of it, but maybe certain people, or even somebody heard in the news or something, or it comes to you. It's almost like you understand or touch it in a different way. The pain itself. But on the other side of it, if we look at it, so when we touch a deep self, that peace and love, that's collective too, right? So it's almost like you're contributing to that collective consciousness. So you're bringing that light into that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. Beautiful. I think beautifully said. Yes. So that's what, again, reiterating on the point that finding our own depths, traveling, going ahead with this journey is a social responsibility. I think you very beautifully touched upon that aspect also. That if I continue to live as the surface self, which most of us do at most of the times, always there is going to be a misery. There's no respite from that misery. Now, what that surface self waits for is this light from a deeper self. One example which I share often is Rupert Spira talking about that ego is like a sponge ball which has gotten constricted. So in constriction, we feel this misery, suffering, this pain, because we are supposed to be here. Where have we gotten ourselves to? And this is how we feel, full of misery and limitation and suffocation. All that the surface self, or the ego, in other words, want is this liberation from this tension. And the more we touch our own deeper aspects, we see that, wow, in the middle of all the suffering, there is a part in me which is actually at rest. What is this mystery? What is this mystery? There is a part in me which wants to understand. There is a part in me which is very soft, supple, receptive. So you begin to see now this duality in you, which is a beautiful duality to be seen. And now you have, once having a taste of that deep rest within the being, you crave for more. Because again, being on the surface, we suffer as an ego, as a reactive pattern of thought and emotions. We suffer, we don't want to be there. And now we have tasted something which is rest in the middle of suffering. That is the paradox. And now it becomes my responsibility also to myself and others around me to touch more of base within me, so that I can, kind of bring that light also to the surface. And मुझे लगता है that is why maybe, masters have said it is a sadhana, क्योंकि it actually is a daily practice. क्योंकि हम इतना बार-बार surface पे रहते हैं. Sorry, please go ahead, Jasmine. Yeah.
No. I just wanted to bring out that a very important point about daily practice. And I think that's why masters of the scriptures, they mention about daily practice. I think that for me, when it hit, I don't know, it hit me in that sense when I actually wrote down in my journal, that spirituality is a daily practice. So it's literally a daily reminder, and going and establishing yourself, like I think your title today is deep step. Sorry, I don't know, I didn't, but I think it's something like establishing in your deep self, right? So I think that daily practice, it made a big difference for me. And I'm sorry, I was trying to say something. You were saying something, and I was thinking along those lines. What were you saying again? I wanted to bring the point out about it. No, it's okay. It'll come to me. You go ahead. Sorry.
So I think I was touching upon daily practice, and you wanted to talk about how it has benefited you. I think that's what you were sharing.
Yeah, so I was saying in daily life, I literally had to go and sit with that on, I didn't believe, I thought I'd never formally meditated, and still I don't think I have, but that daily getting in touch with yourself, and slowly, before it was like I had to sit separately, then slowly it became part of my daily doing too, like, while cooking, while doing dishes, it was just, and I think breath is a beautiful way to connect to yourself, again, being in present there. So I first broke it down to daily, and now it's really easy for me to, I think, not all the time, I'm not there yet, but most of the day I feel that connection. So I think that has helped me the most, and that awareness, it's taken me to the depth in a way. I don't know, it's so hard to put into the words, but I'll share a funny experience I had this weekend. So I have some family, someone in the family who is like to talk about these things, and it's spiritual. And so I met her after a long time, and then we were having some discussion about even spiritual or things like that. It's just funny, while talking to her, I just felt this silence. I'm in the middle of this discussion. I felt this silence. It was like it's very hard for me to say. It was a beautiful experience. It was the peace I felt, and the words, I couldn't really hear. I was talking, but I couldn't. My words were like distant apart, like an echo. Her words like a distant apart. It almost like I felt, oh, this is bullshit, illusion. It's like I could see like we might be talking something spiritual, like even how I'm talking to you right now, but that experience itself was like, I don't know, it was a beautiful experience, hard to put, and beautiful place to be. It's almost like I could see my words dancing, like, I, it was, I could, I don't know, it was a real experience I had to share. So I think that's what some masters say, that you are that awareness and all that. I felt that, and the silence I felt in the middle of our daily life, in the middle of conversation, having 10 people around me. And I thought that was a beautiful thing. And like I said, I haven't done any formal meditation, but this just awareness and bringing it into your daily life, into your day as much as you can, it really did help.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, Swapna, please.
So I today had early in the day, a trigger, a past trigger come up. And then I struggled with it, and there were lots of emotions and tears. And, it took me away from having had actually several days of otherwise being very present. And there's a situation here at home that requires me to be there for others, be there for family, and I've been able to do it. And then I noticed this trigger happens. And so then it pulls me completely away from some connection to the mother, to the divine, to my center. And then I try all kinds of things in the day to come back to center, come back to that depth you were saying is ultimately our journey. Our purpose is to be that awareness. And then I noticed when you did the meditation at the beginning that I could, again, come to a very peaceful place, be at that depth. And then I open my eyes and the thoughts start and the story starts, right? And there it is again, not as strong, I noticed, but it's still there, right? And so I just noticed how many times this has to be repeated. And the frustration with, again, of, oh my God, but just with my eyes closed at the beginning, there I was being able to be free of it, right? Being able to be at some depth and not be affected by the trigger, and the mind quietening enough. But yeah, it feels, again, it's not the first time you've heard me say this, but anyway, the frustration with not being able to maintain that, right? It's like, if it's my true nature, if it's what all the masters are saying, and then there can be this real experience of it, then why so easily able to get distracted from it? Or why easily does the trigger, or what do I do that allows that trigger to take over again? And just before the session, I was listening to something that Eckhart Tolle had on YouTube, and you've used this analogy of blue sky, that the awareness is us as blue sky, and any troublesome thought is like the clouds, right? And he said, if you pay attention to the cloud, then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I thought, okay, that's part of the struggle, right? How not to pay attention to, it's like, the trigger coming back again after our meditation is the cloud. And it's like this moment, the struggle to not pay attention to the cloud, to whatever the troublesome story and trigger is and sets of thoughts.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. So Swapna, first of all, I would like to really say that we are all in this together. What you are sharing is each one of us journey. Our journeys are very, very similar. They may have different stories, but journeys are really similar. And you're not there alone. We are all there together, because the journey is from darkness to light. The journey is from this sleep state, the darkness of the inconscience, as they say, Mother and Sri Aurobindo, to more and more consciousness and awareness. So first of all, it's not our fault. You are not doing anything wrong. We are made like that. And that's the adventure. Mother says that the soul's plunged into this adventure of finding out light through the darkness. This is how she says. And when the soul falls into this material world, they enter into this forgetfulness. That is what we talk about here. Forgetfulness of our true nature. That's why very much focus on remembrance, or spirituality as not a pastime thing, but a daily practice. Because we are in forgetfulness, we are in amnesia. So firstly, that you are not alone. We are all in it together. There is no one today who can say that he is in 100% full divine consciousness all the time, because the nature is so rigid. The nature is so dark and ignorant. Yeah. So we just have to continue taking baby steps. The other part that you mentioned, that the moment you are away or waking up from the meditation or maybe a deep slumber, thoughts begin to crawl again. the dark cloud comes again, forms itself again. That is what we have called Maya, illusion. And illusion की एक खास बात होती है that it makes itself appear real. It says that there is something precious to be found there. If I knew an illusion is an illusion, I would not be trapped really. But the quality of illusion is that it does not appear illusory. So even big masters, sadhus for a long time may get stuck in that illusion, because the illusion, the quality of illusion is that it does not appear like an illusion. It appears so important. And that is where we are trapped again and again. And again, these traps are our journeys, not to be ashamed about these traps again. So knowing that the power of Maya, the power of illusion, how real these black clouds make themselves appear. And they appear more real than our real self. That is the beauty. And why so? Because our habit is to associate and identify more with the black clouds, which are me and my stories, my expectations, my demands, my things from the situations, rather than our habit is not to remember who we truly are. Our habit is more association with the clouds. So it takes time before I develop an absolute understanding that there is nothing I am going to find in the cloud. Why I lose myself in the cloud is because I feel that there is something important to be found. Slowly, through my understanding, when I know that there is nothing more important and absolute in my life than realizing who you truly are, than realizing who I am truly, then slowly the black cloud actually appears as a cloud of illusion. Now I say to it, look at it, and I may fall in a trap to it, but I say, I don't want to be here any longer. Okay, 2 minutes of a dip is okay, but you cannot fool me, because I know the journey is within, because I know there is work to be done within. So I believe, again, I would invite others to share their experiences also. I believe that it's just in gradual understanding, gradual processing through our experiences, that we realize that there is nothing absolutely to be found there in the thickness of the black cloud. So I stopped giving it much importance, that much which I give right now, since I make my happiness dependent on that story. Slowly I more remember, or full of remembrance I become of my own true self, which I think Jasmine was hinting at. I realized that, oh my God, I need not depend on any external situation for my own content and happiness. So I do not give the cloud that much of importance, which I give it right now. So it's me, it's my energy with which that black cloud sustains itself. Mother talks about this, that why you give away to your hostile forces, this is how you do it. Once you lose the taste for it, the hostile powers cannot have any power over you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, I mean, it resonates with what you're saying, and I see in my experience now and several times today, there is this what can I call it, aspiration, wish, desire, to be, say I use Rupert Spira, how you said about the fist, the ego is like the tight fist and the sponge that's open or expansive. Like there is that aspiration and call, and even an experiential memory, remembrance of, well, what was it like just before I woke up this morning and the trigger took over, right? And from the meditation, a real experience again. And it's like, there is a thirst for it. There's a will and a pull towards it. And it seems that it's the insistence of that voice of the cloud, right? It's very full of lights and whistles, and it's kind of like Hollywood, Bollywood element to it. And it's ridiculous that even though I can see it and recognize it, that I can't go straight through it, right? It's like it still acts like a wall. it still acts like this thing that blocks me from what I do know ultimately I do want, you know, and it's, yeah, I'm just marveling at how it can have a power even when I recognize it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Bilkul, bilkul. Beautiful. Yeah. And I think this also grounds us so much. You know, I think this brings a lot of humility that yes, I may know that it's ego, and yet I am here again. And I think Mother and Sri Aurobindo also talk about the power of humor. Laugh over yourself, you know, laugh over your silly traps again. I think that also personally it helps me a lot, that here I go again, you know, back in the trap of ego, knowing that you are doing it. And since the tendencies are so old and like so much of momentum with those tendencies, that here you go again, you are seeing yourself going again in the trap of ego, and yet at times you're not able to help it. So humor really helps, because then you are able to dissociate itself from you, that yes, here I go again, and yet I know that this is all bullshit. So, for example, so humor also helps us a lot to disconnect.
एक क्वेश्चन है मोनिका जी दिमाग में बदल कर रहा है, ये जो हमारे एक्सटर्नल लाइफ में, लाइफ के इवेंट्स में हमारे ये हार्मोनल इम्बैलेंस का इफेक्ट रहता है, प्लस अगर कोई फील्ड है, स्पेसिफिक फील्ड है जैसे मैथमेटिक्स है, तो हमारे न्यूरल नेटवर्क कैसे हमारे ब्रेन में वायरिंग है उसका बियरिंग रहता है उसके सक्सेस में। लेकिन ये स्पिरिचुअलिटी में भी ये हमारे हार्मोनल बैलेंस इम्बैलेंस या जो न्यूरल नेटवर्क कैसे बना है उसका कुछ बियरिंग रहता है क्या? इज दैट ए फैक्टर in our progress on the spiritual path, in our ability to progress on the spiritual path?
So just saying it again so that I understand what you want to say. So
मैं बोल रहा हूँ जैसे मैं लाइफ,
एक मिनट, मैं बोल के बता रही हूँ, आप बताना मैंने ठीक बताया कि नहीं, समझा कि नहीं, ठीक है?
हाँ बोलिए।
तो आप ये कहना चाह रहे हैं कि walking on the spiritual path, do hormonal imbalances and things related to the body play a role?
हाँ मतलब वो हमारे लिए बाधा बन, मतलब हमारी जो एबिलिटी टू पाथ वॉक ऑन द पाथ and to be at home with that restlessness or whatever level, whatever layer we are able to see, whether restlessness or meaninglessness or that sadness, उसके साथ रहने में हमारे हार्मोन्स के बैलेंस का कितना योगदान है, हमारे ब्रेन की कैपेसिटी का कितना योगदान है? तो ब्रेन की कैपेसिटी, इट इज नोन कि आईक्यू लेवल सबके अलग अलग होते हैं और हार्मोनल बैलेंस भी सबका अलग अलग होता है, लेकिन उसका कितना बियरिंग है कि अगर आपका बेटर है, मेरा अलग है, आपका डिफरेंट है, तो हम लोगों की एबिलिटीज में फर्क आएगा क्या टू वॉक ऑन द पाथ?
Very
I mean, how our physiology impacts. No? I think that's what I'm curious about that.
So मुझे लगता है कुलदीप जी, again there can be, I'm sure, many revelations on this question that you have asked, and I would also invite if anyone else has anything to say on this. Again, quoting Mother and Sri Aurobindo, they say that first of all, the path of yoga is not for everyone in this life. तो आप सबको ऐसे चलते चलते कोई भी आपको मिला, आप उसको बोलो ऑल लाइफ इज योगा, चलो चढ़ जा पाथ पे, ऐसा नहीं होने वाला। ऐसा इसलिए नहीं होने वाला बिकॉज द सोल्स गो थ्रू अ प्रोग्रेशन ऑफ एक्सपीरियंसेस, यू नो, एक के बाद एक के बाद एक एक्सपीरियंसेस चाहिए होते हैं, एंड इट्स ओनली एट वन स्टेज और अनदर स्टेज और अनदर स्टेज व्हेन आई बिकम रेडी फॉर द कॉल टुवर्ड्स दिस पाथ, है ना? So first of all, that I believe that not everyone is called to this path of yoga or sadhana or name it anything, spiritual path. दूसरी बात मुझे लगती है कि जो आप कहना चाह रहे हैं, मुझे लगता है कि कुछ ना कुछ वहां पे है, कुछ ना कुछ इम्पैक्ट उसका भी होगा जो आप कह रहे हो, since everything is connected, you know, our mind, body, physiology is very much interconnected and meshed. That's why again Mother and Sri Aurobindo have given very good focus on physical education. क्योंकि आप ऐसा नहीं कर सकते कि आप सोल की तरफ बढ़ गए और ये आपका फिजिकल जो बॉडी है वो बिल्कुल अज्ञानता से भरा हुआ है. तो आई एम श्योर व्हाट यू आर सेइंग, इट हैज एन इम्प्लीकेशन ऑन द पाथ एज वेल, because since the physical, emotional and mental are all connected, it must be definitely having a significance. Yeah, please, I would ask others to share.
If anyone
Yes.
else is not go. Oh, sorry. No, I'll let other person go first. I'll wait.
Yes, so I just wanted to share one of my experience. We recently, just 3 days ago. So yes, there was a trigger, okay, and immediately, like, I could see how it's moving, and it takes you to the deep-rooted trigger. And then I was able to observe, and like, you're conscious, you're aware, and you're able to see that, this is you just say बोल रहे हो ना, deep down you can see, and then in the foreground you can see that this is happening, you're trying to witness it. Okay, now I could come out of it faster, but I'll tell you what happened. Like, this is exactly like what it's related to this discussion. So I am aware, I could understand, and I felt settled after a while. Okay, I felt settled. But in my body, below the chest and like above the solar plexus, ये जो मेरा deep conditioning है, ये जो डर का ये जो होता है, ये मुझे chest के नीचे होता है, एक feeling. अब ये तो जान ही रहा, ये हो रहा है, 2 दिन हो रहा है. And I am thinking the next day I even forgot about the trigger, and I'm wondering ये क्यों नहीं जा रहा क्या. I'm checking with other loved ones, is everything fine, because मुझे ये feeling क्यों आ रही है. I've even disconnected to the trigger also जो हुआ था 2 दिन पहले. But like gradually, like I had to talk to my body to feel better, it's okay, all is well. So I just realized that it's a ancient one, this connection between this trigger, the fear, and the body feeling. In a way, it's so interconnected that even though I was feeling okay already, my body was not used to feeling okay, so it was still in that mode of बोलते हैं ना just freeze or fly, ये वो जो response होता है reptilian brain का, it was still in that, and till I acknowledged it कि ये तो like this is not true, you're just used to it, and I had to sit with my body and just make it understand. So yeah, this is exactly what I felt.
Beautiful. I think beautiful example of connection of the body with all of this. Yeah.
मैडम ये हार्मोनल का तो क्लैरिटी आ गया. दूसरा मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ कि इंटेलिजेंस, अगर मैं थोड़ा कम इंटेलिजेंस हूँ, आईक्यू मेरा 90 है या आईक्यू मेरा 120 है, उससे फर्क पड़ेगा क्या मेरे स्पिरिचुअल पाथ पे? जैसे मैं आईक्यू नापा जाता है ना कि टू प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग जिसकी आईक्यू अच्छी होती है, प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग अच्छा करता है.
कुलदीप जी, एक्चुअली पता है मास्टर्स तो ये कह के गए हैं, अगेन मदर एंड श्री अरबिंदो आल्सो हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट दिस, कि suffering is actually a problem of more intelligent fellows. जो बहुत बेसिक लेवल ऑफ मटेरियल एग्जिस्टेंस पे रहते हैं ना, उनका आईक्यू नहीं है तेज, एक्चुअली वो इतनी सफरिंग में नहीं होंगे. सो सफरिंग इज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ एक्सेसिव, जो हमको ये पावर ऑफ थॉट दी गई है ना, जिसकी वजह से हम इंटेलेक्चुअल या मेंटल बीइंग्स कहलाते हैं. Mother and Sri Aurobindo have said that it actually happens, more suffering happens with people who are more intellectualized, more live in their thoughts and brain all the time. So that's why they say that it's beautiful to take the body along, क्योंकि हम इतना दिमाग में रहते हैं कि हम बॉडी को भूल जाते हैं. So many of us feel very grounded when we do these body movements. I think Swapna is connected with herself through body movements. So it's very good to kind of wake up the consciousness even in the cells of the body. So I would not say that intellectual quotient से आपकी साधना पे कुछ फर्क पड़ना चाहिए, क्योंकि साधना का कोई एक तरीका तो है नहीं ना. एक ज्ञान मार्ग है, एक भक्ति मार्ग है, एक कर्म मार्ग है ना, और भी बहुत सारे इंटरमीडिएट पाथ होते हैं सबके लिए. तो हर बंदा योग्य बंदा है, अगर आप ये पूछना चाह रहे हैं तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि आप कम योग्य हैं, दूसरा बंदा ज्यादा योग्य है, या आप ज्यादा योग्य हैं, दूसरा बंदा कम योग्य है. ऐसा मुझे लगता नहीं है that this kind of a bias exists, and each one has his own beautiful path to follow. कोई ज्ञान मार्ग फॉलो कर पाएगा, नहीं कर पाएगा तो बॉडी मार्ग फॉलो कर पाएगा, यू नो, फिजिकल बॉडी के थ्रू वो कनेक्ट करेगा, एंड दैट इज इक्वली ब्यूटिफुल. There are many children I know personally who connect more with themselves when they are connected through the body. There are others who connect more with themselves when I connect with them at the intellectual level. There are others yet connected more at the emotions and feelings level, है ना. तो वही वो जो 3 मार्ग होते हैं आपस में आके मिलते हैं, ज्ञान, भक्ति, कर्म. तो मुझे तो लगता है कि बहुत सारी पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं, कोई भी पीछे छूट नहीं सकता इस जर्नी पे. That's what I feel.
Monica, I just wanted to ask a question, and I'm asking it to the group also in case anybody else has also experienced it. So, I have been on this path for a while now and became drawn to it more in the last 6 to 8 months. But I have also noticed that there are times that because I have always been very independent kind of a person, sometimes I suddenly feel that, oh, I'm getting too dependent on the practice, and it helps me stay anchored and centered. And so sometimes it's almost like, acha, 2 din ya 3 din, let me not do it for a few days. Let me not, let me just go about life and see that, am I able to stay centered and calm and operate from that, place of rest in day to day. And for a few days, it goes on very well. And I feel that, oh, okay, now, it has become a way of life. But then suddenly it will sneak up on me, and I'll suddenly start feeling groundless sometimes. And then I'll be like, oh my God, I'm still dependent on the practice. And so, and it takes me back to what a couple of people were sharing earlier, that, it's like we take a bath every day, like we change our shirt every day. We have to do it every day. It is like a work in progress for most of us. But I keep oscillating between, am I getting too dependent, to suddenly feeling that, oh, I need to hold on to it. So I just wanted to know that, do people feel that way? And then does that lead to that whole steady practice of that, no, this is like these 30 minutes are mine, or even in the day, whenever, even if I'm in the car, like just 10 minutes to stay centered and be with myself and just stay still. And so any experience there, and what do different people do to make sure that even, the pace of life doesn't take over? And if they also sometimes feel that they're getting too dependent on a practice to stay anchored, like the mind starts playing those games, right? That, oh, look, you're getting very dependent on that. And so yeah, I don't know if I'm able to make myself very clear or not, but these were just some thoughts. I'm just leaving it out there for any comments.
Yeah, anyone wants to share, please, most welcome.
Yeah, one thing I can say from my side, I see that it can often be like a trick of the mind for me, that it says something that's really working and has been working very well. It comes in and it's almost like it's looking for novelty, or saying, oh, don't get dependent on it. Don't, like somehow I can do without it. And it almost comes in like a little trickster, like ego the trickster, that comes in with, oh, let's see now if you can do it without the practice, right? Like without either the physical movement, or without the 10 minutes of meditation, or without reading the prayer, or whatever I've started doing. They'll say, well, this thing is so important, I'm sure you can manage. You'll see, you're so good now, you'll manage without it. And it's like the first kind of spiral of my own downfall. So that's what I noticed about it, that it's always worth pushing me to do it anyway, to say thank you, and I'm going to do it. And if life is really, really fast, maybe I'll do 2 minutes of it rather than 10 minutes, or I'll do 10 minutes rather than 60 minutes, whatever, you know, but just to do something, I feel for me is worth it. Or I fall on my nose, as you put it, Monica, I hurt, and then I get back to at least my 2 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good input, Swapna, right? Um, no, so it's so true, right? Like even for me, I feel that mind has always been, mind has been the master for such a long time that it's almost like it's feeling threatened that, oh, like why is she so calm and collected, and am I not going to be needed anymore? So it's like it's a fear that comes in. It's almost like, yes, I think trickster is the best way to describe it, that it's feeling threatened and it's trying to say that, oh, come on, like don't be dependent, and I should be the one, your go-to person to solve all your problems, and what is this you're doing these days? So yeah, but it's interesting how we can engage in a dialogue and kind of probably even put some humor in place to ensure that that balance is restored. So yeah, thank you.
Jasmine, you wanted to share? Are you there? Yeah.
No, I think, sorry, I kind of missed a little bit of her question, but so that's why I didn't want to answer something different. But I think one thing I find is, again, there is no one general answer for this, but I'll share different experiences. I think there has been times when I didn't have the time, even if I wanted to, in the sense because I had a little kid, too much going on and all that, for me to establish a, say, morning practice, or even, I mean, obviously 10 minutes are not hard, but then your mind is in that place that I then couldn't establish any consistent practice. I started even with 10 minutes, I couldn't do it consistently. But then somewhere, it's how one aspect I think Swapna already brought out. The other way mind can trap you is sometimes I got sort of, it brought me kind of stress, kind of, that pressure to do, like I'm not doing it. So I realized I don't have to do anything. What I started doing, I just have to be present now. Where I am, present now, present now. That's how it started for me. But now that I'm in that state, I think maybe I'm in a better place mentally, or my mind. Now I actually kind of crave that time. So now it's easier for me to establish that daily routine, and I have been able to. So I think it depends on where you are sometimes. But I'm not saying that you don't have time. Your mind is at that place that it gets so caught up in the doing. Even the spiritual practice, it kind of makes it into a doing, So the important is to be sort of, I don't know how to put it, like to be present now. So I started doing that. So slowly I moved. Then that helped me bring myself to establish a daily practice. So that's what I meant. Like it's just one of the aspects that are my experience that I went through. So sometimes it depends on the person. Like and there's another, and now because I think I've failed so many times, you kind of know your brain better how it's going to catch you. So, and when you start doing the practice, you start feeling better, and then it kind of gets a bit complacent. Yeah? Okay, oh, अब एक दिन के बाद एक दिन कोई बात नहीं होता तो that's okay. I can go without it. But I'm getting there too now that no, I'm going to sit. So I think somewhere you know where you are and see what you have to do. But the underlying baseline for me is I have to be present regardless whether I'm doing or not. So मुझे वो जो मन की दौड़, how you said दौड़ वो मन भागता ही रहता. So that I bring just for those few seconds or a minute. First, I come into that piece and then go. And I think that in a way is a practice for me too. So that's because that's how I am. That's how my mind works. I know that.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Also, I would like to, one word that you used, Aditi, dependence. Am I becoming dependent on it? We all are dependent on something or the other, aren't we? We are dependent on the farmer for our clothes so that it grows the cotton and the clothes are made. We are dependent for our sabji bhaji on the sabji wala, and then on the farmer, then on the ground. So I think Swapna was mentioning it's just the trick of the mind, nothing else. We are dependent. We are going to be interdependent. We are dependent on words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, all the masters, all the talks on YouTubes, which enlighten and, awaken us. We are dependent on the air that we breathe. We are dependent on somebody who makes the bed for us. Yeah, somebody who takes the kachra from our house. So just like that, this practice also will be interdependent practice, if we can call it a practice. Yeah, and I feel that be very shameless in taking all the help that you need. Be absolutely shameless. It's beautiful to be interdependent. If somebody knows better than me when it comes to anything, yoga or spirituality or maybe mathematics, I want to learn from it. I want to go ahead and be dependent on that person for some time so that I learn. So I think there is nothing wrong with the dependence. Yeah, interdependence, yes. And if you actually check the logical aspect of it, we are interdependent on each other for everything. The maid comes, gives us help, the dukan wala gets the food, and that's why we can go give money and get the food. So we cannot be an isolated island. It's not possible. And same for this journey that we call spirituality. We will be dependent because the journey is long. It's so much of darkness that we go through on the way, so much of pitfalls on the way. I need help. I cannot say that. I cannot say that, oh my God, I have got it. I have got it now. I don't want to take help from you or you. No, I cannot do, because I don't know in which darkness do I go next. I need somebody's hand to help me out. And that hand may be a book, a word, maybe a discussion with a friend, anything that comes to rescue, anything that wakes up again from my slumber, because we have this habit on going back into our deep slumber of the ego. We have this habit, going back into our stories, sleeping there again. So we need someone or the other, so that we need to be poked up again and again. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. We need these regular wake up calls. So even if you feel that you are getting dependent, be dependent for as long as you need. Be absolutely shameless about it. We all have drawn, we are all here in this session. Haven't we used and taken so much from each one of us, mentors, gurus, masters? We all have. We may have given also, but we all have taken also. So I think there is no harm in order to be dependent, and also see that because this is something which makes you independent of itself towards the end. A cigarette will never make you independent. That kind of addiction is going to stay with you forever. But this dependency is that kind of a dependency that it makes you independent of the dependency slowly. So it wakes you up within you, a light which is all powerful, all illuminating, but that takes a long time. Yeah, so I think this is very auspicious dependence if one has to go through that. We all will go through that. We cannot exist without getting help from each other. Even masters go to their masters. Kabir would go to his master. Krishnamurti learned from, he was trained with any peasant. तो ऐसा तो कोई एग्जिस्ट नहीं किया जिसको खुद ही मिल गया, सब कुछ मिल गया और बिना कुछ इधर उधर करे, है ना. तो हेल्प तो हम सबको चाहिए होगी. एंड आई थिंक बिंदास बेशर्मी से हेल्प लेनी भी चाहिए एक दूसरे से, क्योंकि ये बहुत बढ़िया जर्नी है. So whoever you feel, whatever books, discourses, talks, sessions, people, friends, take help from each other. And anyway, mind is like matter. आप 2 दिन अगर घर में सफाई नहीं करो, डस्ट इकट्ठी हो जाती है. माइंड इज ऑल्सो लाइक दैट. आप 2 दिन सफाई मत करो, आप देखोगे धीरे धीरे फिर से वही पुरानी आदतें वापस आनी शुरू हो जाएंगी. एंड दैट्स व्हाई कांस्टेंट रिमेम्बरेंस, कांस्टेंट सत्संगत or whatever that brings more clarity and understanding. So just like that, we dust our matter, I dust my table lamp or maybe my laptop. I have to dust, keep on dusting this matter also. This is also all matter. Mind is sukshma matter, subtle form of matter. So slowly dust gets collected and I have to just constantly keep a company which cleans the dust. If that you call as dependence, it's okay to have that dependence. We are all allowed to have that dependence. Yeah.
Very nicely said, Monica. Thank you.
Yeah. So any last comments, anyone? We have maybe 5-10 minutes more, if there is anything. I would also like, if time permits, I was reading this little book from the mother, if no one is sharing at the moment. Beautiful words, again and again I put a star against every line. Almost the whole book gets lined after some time. So a few lines that I was reading again, found them so beautiful. So Mother Sri Aurobindo shares what is spirituality. Spirituality is in its essence an awakening to the inner reality of our being, to a spirit, self, soul, which is other than our mind, life, and body. So when he says mind, life, and body, he means thoughts, emotions, and the physical sense perceptions. So to get in touch with this deeper being in ourselves, deeper presence in ourselves, which is away, which is more than the thoughts, feelings, and sense perceptions. An inner aspiration to know, to feel, to be that deeper reality, to enter into contact with the greater reality beyond and pervading the universe, which inhabits also our being, to be in communion with it and in union with it, a turning, a conversation, a transformation of whole of our being as a result of this aspiration or union or growth of waking into a new being, a new self, a new nature. So I just shared because this, I think Kuldeep ji also touched upon the path of spirituality and why we are here. So again, communing more and more deeply with our truest depths and self, and bringing that light into all the material aspects of body, relationships, work, family, each and every aspect is as if, illuminated with that deeper understanding. And it is a long process because there are so many patterns that we inhabit. We are swarmed with those patterns that it takes a long, long time to really have a beautiful transformation. But the journey itself is so beautiful. One is not waiting for that end to happen. The journey itself is so beautiful. To look at each movement of our being, to transform it more with more and more understanding and clarity. I think Dr. Ramesh Bijlani, one of the senior sadhaks here, Delhi Ashram, he says that it's as if that we have to be like earthworms. Earthworms kya karte hain? They turn toxic matter into compost, which is utilizable. So we have to look at all our weaknesses, recognize, pin out all our weaknesses slowly and turn it into something beautiful. That is the power all of us have. Yeah. And not to shy away from our uglinesses because they are going to stay. अभी बहुत काम बाकी है. Yeah, कुलदीप जी कुछ कह रहे थे आप?
वो स्पिरिचुअल प्रैक्टिस तो बहुत एक महीन चीज है ना. वो मन बार बार कुछ कॉन्क्रीट मांग रहा है कि कुछ अगर रिचुअल दे सको, कुछ छोटा सा जिसको डेली करे. आप बोल रहे हो डेली सफाई करनी है, लेकिन ये वो सफाई के लिए कुछ कॉन्क्रीट, अगर ये तो अपने आप को रिमेम्बरेंस बार बार दिलाना, ये तो है थोड़ा सटल लगता है एक्चुअली में. बार बार वो भटकने में वहां पे जूते खाना, फिर वापस आना, फिर इस पेन के साथ रहना, ये प्रोसेस तो आगे जाके कुछ रिचुअलिस्टिक, मतलब पता नहीं मन मांग रहा है, मतलब जैसे विपश्यना.
तो मन को दो, कुलदीप जी दो आप मन को. मास्टर्स ने बहुत सारे प्रोसेसेस बताए हुए हैं. एक प्रोसेस जिससे बंदा शुरू कर सकता है, वन ऑफ अ वेरी सिंपल प्रोसेस इज I think you are maybe aware of it. You just keep on noting down all the thoughts that come across in your mind. Now वो है तथ्यों पे जीना. तथ्य है ना, वो आप देख पा रहे हो. अब उसमें कुछ सूक्ष्म नहीं है. आपके पास एक कॉपी, नोटपैड और पेन है थ्रू आउट. अब आपको अपने आप इमेजिन करो कि आप एक पानी की टंकी हो. आपको देखना है मेरे में कितना कचरा है, कितना खूबसूरती है. तो वो कैसे देखोगे? जब तक आप पानी की तरफ नजर नहीं डालोगे. सो यू टेक अ पेज, कीप इट थ्रू आउट द डे विद यू. हाथ में एक पेंसिल भी साथ में पॉकेट में डाल लो. Whenever you get time, keep on noting down your thoughts. Towards the end of the day, just see all that you have in the tanki. And this can be a beginning, one of the beginnings. Again, there would be so many beginnings. One of the beginnings, which is a very basic beginning, इसमें आपको ज्यादा effort नहीं करना. जब भी आप कर सकते हो, immediately पन्ना बाहर निकाला, okay, ये thought, objectively उसको लिखते जाओ. तो ऐसे कि सारी जो उल्टी है ना, ऑल द जो जुगाली चल रही है अंदर, वो आपके सामने आ गई. ये मेरा पूरा का पूरा दिन आज ये रहा. तो ये बहुत अच्छा तरीका है अगर मन को सूक्ष्म नहीं चाहिए, कुछ स्थूल चाहिए. तो ये बताया गया है माध्यम कि यहाँ से शुरू कर सकते हैं. और वही साइलेंस करता है. आप देखोगे कि आप 1-2 दिन करोगे ना, it brings a lot of silence to the mind. है ना? साइलेंस इसलिए नहीं होता है क्योंकि सब गुत्थम गुत्था उलझ के रहता है. अब ये सामने आपके पेपर पे सब कुछ निकल के आ रहा है. सब कुछ तो नहीं, लेकिन जो कुछ दिख पा रहा है आपको, है ना. तो काफी इट एक्चुअली ब्रिंग्स अ लॉट ऑफ रेस्ट टू द बीइंग. तो ट्राई किया जा सकता है.
थैंक यू.
या थैंक यू फॉर आस्किंग. सो यहाँ पे स्वप्ना प्लीज.
You know, before you mentioned this where you shared the last passage about, you know, every action or everything we do in our day, and to do it do it as a practice, do it as an offering, do it with sincerity. And I remember something you'd also shared with me a few months ago, saying a similar question had been asked you about how you live your day, right? And the thing that stayed with me is you were mentioning how you were talking about you, but for me it's just, as you say, we're walking each other home. So when one can go in the flow of 1 minute, you know, I'm doing this, the next minute I'm being called to take care of a family member, the next minute I'm reading a sacred book, the next minute I'm cooking or cleaning or going to work, you know, and that flow is something that seems so beautiful. And I think it was Aditi's question about practice, right? And when the mind goes, oh, do I need to be dependent? And when everything, what I see is when everything is part of the practice, then there isn't an exception of, now I'm practicing, now I'm not. Or it's like yoga on the mat, but yoga off the mat. It's always more important the yoga off. And then I noticed for me how at the thing to be aware of, or beware of almost, is the judgment, right? Like there's ego vital, then hops on it and goes, oh, well, you didn't do that very well. Or how did you manage to forget a whole half day? Or how did you get into that argument? You know, when you were supposed to practice the whole day in awareness or with the mother, why are you now angry or upset? Or, you know, the judgment on that practice. So instead, reminding myself to be gentle, to do it without all this expectation, to simply know to do it quietly, even if it's imperfect, just to do it in that way, rather than, it's so easy for this voice of judgment and the critic to come in, and then it spoils the whole show. You know, it's just kind of waiting to pull the whole house down, you know, and then says, look, it didn't work anyway, right? Yeah.
Beautiful.
So I think gentleness. Yeah.
Gentleness towards oneself. Absolutely. And I think, you know, that's really beautiful what you're sharing. And we feel that we can actually coexist with all those imperfections. You know, initially when we are on the path, we have such high expectations from the path that, okay, once I'm on this path, you know, everything is going to turn really very beautiful, and every, you know, all the anger, jealousy, lust, pride, everything will go away. But that does not happen. And, you know, we really frustrating. We are finding ourselves really getting frustrated that really nothing changed. And slowly we get to this deeper place within ourselves where we see that we can coexist with these garbages in ourselves, because we stop to identify with them so strongly. Pehle to they are myself, anger is myself, jealousy is myself. Slowly, the deeper we grow in the being, I believe that we see that it's okay if a little bit of anger resides still. I am still on the way, and as you were sharing, being gentle to ourselves. I think that really takes care of a lot. So it actually needs a lot of inner strength to coexist with impurities. It does not require much strength when there is no impurities at all, but greater much strength when there are impurities. I see them all, and it also brings a lot of humility in the being, that I am also still there where others are, and yet I can be a bit away from them and have my rest also. So yeah, that's really beautiful. Great.
Monica, just to share something.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I feel I'm feeling a very weird kind of situation. So by following the same kind of practice of being aware, I do feel at times I'm doing a great job. I do feel very contented. But following the same practice some other days does not work at all. So I keep wondering, is it something else which is controlling my mind? Like I keep hearing about this celestial movement, moon come motion and all that. That's how I think just wanted to bring to this group. I know we are not having much time today. Does it happen to all of you? Some days you feel, yes, it is working. Some days you feel, no, nothing is working at all.
I would like, it happens actually to everyone, what I feel. Some days like moon phases has our impact on our this waning and waxing of male, on our hormones and our inner feelings or not. That time I can't say, but emotions also, in as the biological clock, it goes up and down. So feelings will be different even if you are doing the same thing, but the condition of the mind, condition of the body, condition of our emotions, like our interactions, they are different. Everyday life is different. So we are doing, what we are doing is constant. What is happening in our life, in our bodies, is different. So there can be different feelings on different days.
Thank you, Kuldeep ji, for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, also, Saurabh, I would like to maybe add one thing here. Absolutely with you and Kuldeep ji, that someday something works, maybe the other day something else works. And Kabir has said, मन के बहुतक रंग हैं, छिन छिन बदले सोए. ठीक है, एक रंग में जो रहे ऐसा बिरला कोई. So I'm not taking the next line, I'm talking about the first line. मन के बहुतक रंग हैं, छिन छिन बदले सोए. And that is why the need for so many masters and gurus. Everyone brings in a different element. So today something else may work, tomorrow something else may work, and maybe the day after tomorrow nothing of those two may work. Maybe I have to find something new for my own self. So first this thing. The other thing is that our true nature is not a coming going thing. Feelings will come and go. Mind, thoughts will come and go. The true nature does not come and go. That's why it is called as true essence nature. It is essential to my existence. तो अगर मैं सिर्फ मेंटल अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी इस बात की रखूं और मेंटल से मैं शुरू करूं, तो एक बहुत रिलैक्सेशन आ जाता है बीइंग में, कि हाँ अभी मैं बहुत उथल पुथल भरे फेज से निकल रहा हूं, लेकिन कुछ लूज नहीं हुआ मेरा. आई हैव नॉट लॉस्ट एनीथिंग. अभी हो सकता है वो डार्क क्लाउड बहुत बड़ा होकर अपने आप को बिल्कुल नचा रहा हो मेरे सर पर. Yes, it's a phase, I will go through it, but I have never lost anything crucial to me, essential to me. And that's why they say enlightenment is a myth. क्योंकि हमको लगता है कि कुछ मिल जाना है, और जो मिल सकता है वो खो भी सकता है. और जब हमको डीपली ये रियलाइजेशन हो जाती है कि कुछ नहीं मिलना, उल्टा जो लादा हुआ है अपने ऊपर बस उसको झाड़ना है, slowly we realize that also this restlessness also comes down a bit, that I'll not be getting anything in future. Although I am completely with you that at times we are so full of non-peace, and at other times we are as if we are rested in our being. That's what you were sharing.
Right. To
Yeah.
keep yourself motivated those days, no, when nothing works, is sometimes very painful, you know.
मत करो मोटिवेट, आप ना जाके देखो जितना डीप जा सकते हो.
Hmm.
हमारी तो विन विन सिचुएशन है सौरभ. So because in the darkness also there is nothing hiding but the divine. तो आप जाने दो, देख लो कितना दूर तक जा सकते हो.
Right. Yeah. This will need a reflection. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
So let's call it a session here. Thank you for so many beautiful sharings and reflections, and thank you for taking out time, first of all, to come and share and be there for such a long time. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you, everyone.